We are very lucky to be in the Ndumo Game Reserve, which is fantastic and great park in South Africa, carrying out this living lab with a very diverse wildlife, with a rich biodiversity, water bodies, and amazing landscape. With a group of 28 students from Africa, Latin America and Asia and Europe, and we are from different disciplines. We are studying, we are analyzing what is going on in this Ndumo Game Reserve from multiple perspectives. Students are sleeping in tents, but they are quite well equipped. There are also bungalows for some members of the staff here. We have a kitchen and also a braai facility. So we had divided the group of students and also the staff in 5 main groups. So we have the group working on water quality issues. We have the group on land who is working on biodiversity, trees and conservation. We have the group on mapping issues, mapping the different settlements in the area. And we have the ecotourism group, and we also have the society and conservation group, thinking on how to conserve a biodiversity in a way that it is just fair with the local communities.
We came to South Africa, where we have a very well-defined framework of challenges taking place. South Africa is the 3rd richest country in biodiversity of the world. In this area where we are now for the Living Lab, the Pongola floodplain, these different challenges are illustrated even to the extreme, because this region now here is the region with the highest biodiversity in South Africa, with even species from tropical Africa still occurring here, with species from the subtropical savanna region being abundant here. So it's the region with a very high number of bird species, with very high richness in vegetation. Aquatic life is abundant with more than 40 fish species, some of them in the red data book, so needing conservation.
Can we access here by your land? We will only be here for maybe 2 hours. So we can't access here for 2 hours just to do some work. We're not going to take anything. Can I see? Can I see the river? Can we?
Right.
That's right. For 1 hour. They're going to work in the river and they're going to leave again. Okay.
Sure. Very good.
Yeah, so you've been given permission to enter to get access to the river.
Right.
Yeah, so they've asked that we move the vehicles into the shade and then just ask that you guys respect their lands and things, or their crops.
The river is accessible?
The river is accessible.
We need a boat?
It's a bit deep, you will need the boat.
We need a boat. So what we are trying to do is to assess the water quality in relation to land use for different types of aquatic systems in this Pongola floodplain. We really want to know what is having an impact on the water quality.
We are evaluating the water quality measurements in a way to understand what is also happening around the water body. So it's not just we take samples from the water, we do the measurement, but we also see what is happening around. So for example, here we have agricultural lands, so it's a way to understand.
One approach is by means of physical and chemical characteristics. It's like oxygen level. This is the temperature, it is the acidity, it is the electrical conductivity of the water. We also measure the amount of algae present in the water by means of assessing their photosynthetic pigments in the water. So we can make a relationship between the pigment and the biomass of algae in the water.
we want to see how these physical and chemical parameters and also the biological parameters, are they harmful to the people? Is it harmful to the organisms in the water and stuff like that?
When we get the results from the lab, the results that we are taking into the field, we integrate all of them and we can have an idea that what is happening and how can we help also to improve the water quality of the water body.
So what we want to do here is analyze the spatial dimension of society-environment interactions. And so what the students did previously is that they developed very detailed maps based on aerial photographs, based on satellite imagery of the land use and of the spatial distribution of the settlements. So what the students will do here is they will try to reconstruct spatial behavior in these communities by doing interviews. Basically, they will ask different households, which are selected, stratified, random. They will ask them to reconstruct what they did this day.
We are doing some interviews, asking the people where do they get their food, where the children are studying, what's the farthest distance they have been in the last year, for example.
Okay, and the water for her farming, she takes it from the same river?
Yes, from the river.
And how you transport it from the river to the farm? It helps the mapping group know where areas to improve or where to develop public infrastructure for the people's betterment.
So we are tracking points like the houses, the shops, facilities.
We try to create a day path which shows what the different members of the household have been doing. And then we'll bring all these interviews together later on and we will put them in a geographic information system that will learn us about what are the constraints of these livelihoods.
And this way we can analyze the relationship between the people and the space.
Our collaboration with the University of Leuven and particularly the Living Lab is unique in the sense that it is not only bringing together students from South Africa and from Belgium, but the whole Living Lab concept is a multinational concept. So there are students from all the continents. And it exposes the students from Northwest University to a range of diverse cultures and the way that people think about the nature and about life in general. I think it's an extremely important learning experience for our students.
So now here we are in the floodplain of the Pongola River. And the Sukunti pan is a very popular pan because it's much deeper than in many other parts of the floodplain. You can really see the soil structure. It's quite loose and crumbly. It also has a good color, it's a black color, which shows lots of organic material.
We're at the moment taking samples for both carbon, which means the above ground carbon and the soil carbon. We're also measuring the bulk density of the soil and the infiltration rate of the soil.
So the idea is actually to assess what do we have here biomass wise. So we're now in a plot with lots of mango trees. This is actually the most treed part of the landscape. So we're going to take a few samples here.
We measured the tree circumference and diameter and the tree height for the above ground biomass, and then for the soil we take samples, and based on the bulk density we can then calculate the below ground biomass.
People from this area mainly rely on agriculture. It's a good skill that we're getting to learn how to identify good soils, learn how to identify areas that are prone to drought, areas that are also prone to floods.
These data we will then be using to compare different plots, which we will be investigating with different land use types. And then we will actually look at the effect of the different land use types on the amount of carbon that is stocked in the ecosystem. And that is important to know how productive the ecosystem is.
This project specifically focusing on land has taught me that the soil isn't only what you see on top, you can actually dig deeper and see the nutrients composition that can help people in this community to plant better. So I think today I've mainly learned the different types of soil and how you can identify fertile soil from soil that just looks good.
It's a brilliant place for students to experience wildlife, to experience the aquatic environment, especially a stressed aquatic environment, and then also all the social aspects that go with it. It's a very high conflict area, so it's a perfect laboratory to bring together aquatic ecology, ecological sciences, social sciences, and then tourism as well, because of the tourism effect of this conservation area.
Do you think it is important to have a reserve such as the Ndumo Reserve,
it's
and why?
Very, very important for us, especially we are the young generation, because that game reserve is a part of South Africa. Because when it comes to economy, gross domestic product (GDP), we have brothers and sisters around this community. We are working under Ndumo Game Reserve, which means some of the families, they benefit inside of Ndumo Game Reserve.
So we had a group in the team Society and Conservation, and we had a group in Ecotourism. They prepared action plans, so they went through the relevant literature. From that, they tried to make an interview protocol to get these people together. We sit on the ground, we sit under a tree, and we ask them questions about their daily life, about their perceptions on conservation, the potential of ecotourism, but also the daily challenges they face. So first we go and meet the local chief, the Induna. We come and present our project, we come and present all the different participants, and we ask his authorization to do interviews in the community. But we also take that opportunity to do an interview with him and his council, because these of course are key persons. They have a good idea of what is going on in the community.
So we ask them different questions about different things in life that focus on that topic.
So we try to have a broad image of what the community thinks and how this can be implemented in the park management to make them feel more integrated.
So from their different perspectives, we are having a better picture of the interactions that happen in the park and the ways people relate to conservation, ecotourism and its possibilities, and between each other. It's a great educational experience to show the true value of having to look at an environment as a whole, including the people and where they live. And I think the students really, really get that and they really enjoy it.
It's very interesting for me because I come from different sides of the world, how people live here, how people feel about their life here, particularly conservation and ecotourism, how they understand it. I also see what is the influences of the park and their daily life.
We do this Living Lab in partnership also with local actors whose support is great and has been fantastic. And at the same time, we are engaged with them to provide feedback and to restitute the knowledge and the information that we have been collecting. So the aim, the goal, the final goal of this Living Lab is to produce a sustainable development plan for the Ndumo Game Reserve area and its area of influence. And we are aiming at composing a sort of small book with different chapters, one on water, society and conservation, ecotourism, land, introduction and conclusion, that we will give as a gift and feedback back to our hosts.
So it's a very, from a biological point of view, it's an incredibly diverse area where we are. It's a very special area as well. This is known as one of the biodiversity hotspots in the country and in southern Africa. And you have a real melding here of the different vegetation types that come together, the temperatures, and so you see an incredible level of endemism across the taxa. So whereas plants, insects, even mammals. And I think that's what makes this area so incredibly interesting, is that you've got this diversity, which you don't have in a lot of other areas of the country. That makes the research challenging though, which is why we need to collaborate when it comes to research.
We will need more of these kinds of research, so that after this research we will try to implement some of the recommendations. So it's better if after a certain period you get the same research, so that you can compare whether the research had an impact in the community to be something that we can use in the future to deal with our conservation issues.
This Living Lab has been amazing, has been great, has been hard work, has been fun. It has been great to see the students and the staff working together with a lot of enthusiasm, with a lot of energy, everybody collaborating and everybody eager to learn more. But I think the greatest of all is to bring such a large group of young students for whom this experience can be life-changing, to think on better ways of collective learning among students, among staff, but also a learning experience that has a societal impact.